Never can tell.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Observers Live. Jordan's here.
And Sarah.
Sarah. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if you can hear and see us because we were having some of our regular technical difficulties.
Wouldn't be a Saturday Night Live without some technical difficulties for us.
Yep. So let's see how everyone's doing out there, guys. Already seeing people filling in. It's good to see. I'll give a few more minutes, let people come in before we go deep. Yeah, our sound wasn't working for some reason when we were testing. So somebody go in the comments and tell me if you can hear and see me, please. Before we get too much further along. Actually, can't you turn this up and see?
I'll just put on my little
Okay.
thing.
So it looks like everything's going good. Okay, we got some thumbs up. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yay. And it's one of those things where like everything's cool until like right before, we hit record and then everything just turned off. It's like, what's happening? So I had to disconnect everything. Anyways, we're here, guys, and so are y'all. That's the important thing. So welcome. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Yeah. So this week we went really deep on this guy here, the analysis and assessment of the gateway process. And as we always do, we reconvene on Saturday and take questions from you lovely folks and talk about everything. And we'll hit up some like current events and see what you guys are up to out there in the real world and all that fun stuff. So let's talk to Sarah. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Fantastic.
What'd you do today?
I got to visit with some friends that were in from out of town.
Yeah, you did.
And then I did a workshop on mediumship
What?
and got to spend some time out in the sunshine at the beach.
Sounds like a
It was
pretty good day.
Pretty good, productive day. How about
Yeah.
you?
Mine wasn't near as exciting as that. So, but it was a good day, all in all. Anyways, yeah, so this week was tough. Like, I mean, not tough, like in a bad way, but like this report here is dense and like
It is dense.
you're gonna ask Sarah, like, especially when I came out of this room on what was it, Wednesday night, I guess. Yeah. After I did the it was like a 2.5 hour recording going through this. I tried to just split it in 2 parts. I really should have probably done 3 because this thing, you can only hit it so hard for so long before your brain literally turns to mashed potatoes. And like I walked out of here Wednesday night and it felt like I had ran like a mental marathon. Like I was just drained, exhausted. Your brain uses a lot of energy. It's very resource intensive. Like it needs a lot of what am I?
Do
what are you
that
pointing at?
hide vertical. Maybe
Oh.
turn that off.
Yeah. I don't think anybody can see that. Oh, wrong button. That made it bigger. Hide vertical. There we go. Okay.
Sorry.
Did other people see
fix
that?
it, Travis?
Was it zoomed in? Okay. Yeah. So there's this new thing on StreamYard where it's like you can record in vertical and horizontal at the same time. So hopefully it told me to do it, so I did what it told me. So I don't know. Hopefully everyone's stuff isn't all messed up out there. It's super zoomed in. Oh no. How do I turn that off? Oh, that's crazy. Come on.
I don't know because mine looks normal right now.
So hide vertical. I don't know. It said now we're recording in horizontal and vertical. And I was like, how do you do both? It's a beta thing. So obviously they have some kinks to work out. Does it look better now, guys? Are we back to? So before y'all were just seeing like the middle, like my right ear and Sarah's left ear. So perfect. Yeah. If you can't tell, we are a well-oiled machine around here. So anyways,
zoom out.
Zoom out. Are we zoomed out now?
I don't know. She said we can't see you.
Still
It's
zoomed
still
in.
Zoomed in. Okay. What is happening?
Still the same. That's crazy. Come on. Okay. So yeah, no, I literally have no idea how to fix that. Let's see.
Camera.
So it's some new thing that they just did. And right beforehand they said, "Do you want to do this?" I was like, "Okay." It said recommended next to it. Nice curtain in the middle. Can you see my hand? You gotta be shitting me. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I don't know.
Love it.
I don't know how to fix that.
Let's see what it
Yeah.
shows me.
Here, Sarah's gonna do a quick video is fine. Okay, so I think it's if you're on your phone.
Yes, because on the
Yeah.
iPad,
See, look, it's showing us a preview right
Yeah.
here. Okay, so if you're on, so turn it like vertical or turn it horizontal. Like, so if you're on your phone, turn it horizontal.
I
and it should
don't
be able
think that makes any difference. No, it
No,
doesn't.
okay.
It's because you put it into that mode.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'm just gonna get into it, and I'm sorry about that. Next time I'll opt out of that. It said recommended in big red letters next to it.
Let's
I know everyone who's coming and telling me that it's messed up. I totally understand, and there's no way I can fix it. Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, what the fuck? What do I do? How do I fix it? There has to be a way. Oh, new. Here we go. Here we go. Hang in there, guys. I think I've see. This is it. This new orientation.
Mhm.
But there's no way to change it once I'm in here.
Yep.
Wow, how about that? Son of a. See, it says recommended. See, Sarah sees it. I'm not making that
Yeah.
up.
It sure does.
It's telling me to do it, and then I do it, and it jacks everything up. Well, yeah.
You just need to lean over a little closer, and they can
we-
see.
Does
You
that,
just-
but then people that see the full one, it's going to look
It's
stupid.
okay, babe.
Okay.
It's okay.
Anyways, all right. Well, we're already here, so let's do this thing. Christopher said to tell people to stop crying, so I'm supposed to tell y'all to stop crying. But no, it's a valid complaint. Yeah. So, would this be a good time for me to tell people that we enabled Super Chat? So we enable Super Chat if anybody wants to donate and help us hire somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing. That would be much appreciated. Don't ask me how to Super Chat. I don't know. I just clicked the button. Okay.
Maybe
so,
we didn't turn it on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not working, so don't even worry about it, guys. But obviously we could use help, so send help, please. So at least can you see, like, is this what people see?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what people are saying.
All right. So this was all planned. I just wanted to like kind of BS for a little while and let people fill into the room. So y'all totally fell for it. We know what we're doing. It's all rouge. Anywho, let's go, guys. Okay. So normally on my Saturday nights, I is that what people see?
That's what people see on their phones.
Okay. So when Sarah talks, she'll scooch over and we'll just take turns.
That's not what I'm gonna do.
It's funny. It's on my screen. Y'all can't see my screen, but on my screen in StreamYard, they think they're being all clever and they're like, okay, we're going to show you both. So they actually show me the horizontal and the vertical. And so I can see, I think, what y'all are seeing. So the horizontal folks, they got it good. You know, it looks sharp. Y'all vertical folks, you're fucked. Sorry. I'll fix it for next week. Don't worry. Okay.
We will get this figured out.
All right. Now that we have everybody in here, let's roll. So this week, we went over the analysis and assessment of the gateway process. Now, typically on a Saturday night, I will sort of recap the whole shebang and then go into questions. This thing was like over 4 hours of video, and that was with me going pretty quick and stuff. It's very dense. It's extremely complicated. It will fry your brain. That's why somebody asked me one time, they said, why do you think the CIA actually declassified this? And my honest answer was, I don't think that they think anyone can make sense of it. It's just one of those things where I think that they're like, have fun, guys. Like, you know, if y'all can figure this out, good for you. Because, I mean, even with my background and so much of my research being into all of the things having to do with this, I was still, you know, I've read this thing multiple times. And even doing the live, because it was the first time I'd really like taken my time and read it, like really slowed down and just really gone through word by word by word. And there were so many times where I was like, hold on. I'm going to reread that. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to reread it again. And then light bulb would go off. And I've read this thing like 10 times. So that's how complex and dense it is. You can't just pick this thing up and read it and be like, aha, I figured it out. But I tried my best. And I think people enjoyed it. So what we're going to talk about is this. But instead of me doing like a full recap, I'm just going to go straight into the questions, because we had like literally hundreds and hundreds of questions, which come in the form of comments. So the reason we do these things is that a lot of people will. So Sarah's going over. Sarah's running the chat. So what?
Nothing.
Okay. Yeah, get over here. I would rather her be right here and me just talking, kind of like, you can move your lips and I'll talk, right? But no,
it's okay.
We're making the best of the situation. Anyways, we're just gonna go right into the questions because yeah, I'm still looking for that life thing. Anyways, I know. I didn't do this. StreamYard did this. Anyways, this is why normally she reads the questions and I just focus. But everything's off the rails today. So
all those retrogrades.
Yeah. So we're just going to go into the questions because we got a whole bunch. And the questions came in the form of like comments, so we get emailed questions from people. I always tell people to save their questions for Saturday night, but we got so many comments and people ask so many questions. So we just kind of compiled a list. And I figure instead of me trying to do justice to this thing and recap it like I normally do, let's just go right into the questions. And so put all your questions in here into the comments. Sarah's managing the chat. If you really want to get our attention, you can do a super chat or do something to stand out. And let's roll. What do you got? What are some good ones?
Okay.
So I will tell you, while she's searching for a good one to start with, let me just give a brief, intro to what this thing is. And this was a report that there was a guy named Wayne McDonnell. He was a lieutenant commander of military intelligence in the U.S. Army in 1983, and he was sent out on a mission by his superiors to figure out everything he could about consciousness, essentially, because we were in a Cold War with Russia. We found out Russia had secret spies, and our government was like, uh-oh, they have secret spies. We don't. What are we going to do? So they sent this guy out, and they said, hey, go figure out how we can come up with some secret spies, how we can tap into consciousness, how we can start manipulating reality and remote viewing and astral projecting and doing all these amazing things the Russians were doing. So he sent Wayne McDonnell out on this hunt, and he did not know what he was getting himself into. And he came back, he found the Monroe Institute, he found the Gateway Project. He went there with a doctor and they trained. It blew his mind. He understood that all these things work, but he had no idea how to explain it to his superiors. Right? These are military people back in the 80s. He's like, how am I going to break this down? So he had to do a ton of research into all of the intervening fields and tried to explain, okay, how does this work at a consciousness level, a quantum physics level, a spirituality level? What are we going to do about religions? All of this stuff. So he put together this whole analysis, and that's what this thing is. It is the analysis and assessment of the gateway process. And it's not just about the gateway process. It is about how to explain how the gateway process works, going into things like hypnosis and bringing in Ishak Bentov and Bohm and all of the greatest minds in quantum physics and science back then, and psychology and parapsychology and everything, try to explain this. And this assessment is what he gave to his superiors to say, hey, the gateway process at the Monroe Institute works. It works so good. And here is how I think it works. Here's all the context and supporting data. And that's what this analysis is. And it's crazy because it goes into everything, like what this universe is, what reality is, what God is, what everything is. And it's really, really interesting. Now, I'm not saying everything in here is true. This was 42 years ago, but it's very interesting. So that's what we covered in the 2 episodes this week. And now we're just going to go over some questions. Okay. Which we start with. I know we got some really juicy ones, but let's start kind of simple-ish.
Oh.
Never mind. Just dive right in. Screw it.
Okay. Well, so obviously, how much of this program or what they discovered from this program do you think ended up in black budget projects we'll never hear about?
Okay. So the question is, like, how much of this material, so this thing was classified for like 20 years and then they declassified it in the early 2000s. So all of this material was classified at a point. So the question is, if I'm reading or hearing right, like how much of all of this is now still classified? Like how much of it's in these like black projects?
Yeah, like how much are they still working on? Like what other projects and stuff do you think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how far do you think it's gone?
Well, it's evolved. So we know pretty much that the remote viewing project, according to them, was terminated. Now, a lot of people think it wasn't, that it was just pushed underground. And I used to think that. What I think happened to the remote viewing project is they got frustrated with it because it's so inconsistent. Remote viewing is very subjective. It's a lot of it is sort of vague because there's this time distortion factor. There's personal things that they call the analytical overlay. So it's really hard to get like super duper precise information from remote viewing. And military and intelligence, they want super duper precise. So I think they might have even scrapped. I think they might have been right. I mean, they probably still have some black projects working on remote viewing, but I think they've moved on. I think now they're into what's called psionics and these kind of psychotronic warfare things where they're literally using, that's what like Skywatcher and all those guys are about, is using what they call psionic assets, which are people. There's a new whistleblower, Jordan. His name's Jordan. That he was part of the Gate project. Those like gifted and talented things. I did a whole video on that went crazy viral at one point because I was in Gate and I could attest to all the weirdness around it. But this kid was in Gate and then he kind of got put into this weird secretive like high school thing that was grooming him. And then when he got out of that or got, taken out of that, put somewhere else. Anyways, he ended up in this like psionics, like CIA kind of a program thing where they were like teaching him to communicate with UFOs and all this kind of stuff. And it was really weird and twisted. And he's a whistleblower coming out talking about it. Well, normally you would listen to a story like that and you're like, okay, whatever, take it with a grain of salt. But then you have the Skywatcher team that's exactly what they say they're doing. And they're these are all ex-military people and intelligence people saying that they have these psionic assets. And he was one of them who can telepathically communicate with, UFOs and aliens and all this kind of stuff. So I think that that's where all of this stuff, right, ended up, is that they were like, oh, we can, telepathically communicate with interdimensionals and extraterrestrials and that kind of stuff. So I think that's where this evolved into. And then there's obviously like MK Ultra and that kind of stuff. So, I think that MK Ultra, it's not that MK Ultra came out of this. It's that when the government realized how powerful consciousness is and the things you can do with it, then yeah, they got all sorts of creative and they started doing all sorts of twisted shit because they realized that they could, kind of a deal. And they were just in this weird mad scientist experimental mode back then. So yeah, there's all sorts of weird things that came out of that Cold War era. Yeah, we're seeing them now with a lot of these psionic programs. I think that the telepathy and that kind of stuff, I think that's where they're at now. But yeah, so much of it's black budget stuff, we'll never even know about it.
So do you think that the Gateway participants ever encountered something the government didn't want to talk about? Like, I mean, obviously they have like blacked out, but like, do you think that there was stuff, they obviously had things that they were kind of expecting to run into? And then do you think that there were things that...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff that...
And what do you think those things might have been?
Well, I mean, it's like running into the jungle, and expecting not to like see some sort of strange animal or gigantic spider or something. Like when you go out there far enough, like that's what you do in this whole assessment and all of everything you learn in Gateway is about leaving this, I don't know what you want to call it, this reality, it just is. And when you leave this reality, you're going to run into all sorts of things. People think that there's not like life or intelligence outside of this reality, but the reality of it is there's a lot of life and intelligence out there. It's just different than us. So sometimes we don't understand it or know what it is or even know it when we see it. So I'm sure they ran into all sorts of intelligences and consciousnesses and life forms. That's what we call interdimensionals, what we call aliens, what we call ETs. The more that we're out there with our physical stuff, like our little, flying things, like rockets and stuff, and the more we're blowing up atomic bombs, and the more that we're leaving our bodies and doing all this kind of stuff, we're attracting all sorts of attention. And yeah, I'm sure they ran into all sorts of stuff. I'm sure they've tried to make deals with different people, different intelligences and groups and stuff. I wouldn't put that past, I mean, like that's where even going back to like the Germans in World War II, they had like the Ahnenerbe and stuff and the Brill Society and those guys, the Thule Society. They even sent like some of their German scientists to India to learn with like the Buddhist monks and stuff to, learn like how to meditate and these kinds of things. And they brought all that information back, that spiritual practice. And they started using it to basically what they were trying to do is make deals. Like that was the whole point of like the Ahnenerbe and the Thule Society and stuff is they wanted to basically get like technological secrets and information from these spirits. Like they would connect with these spirits. And that's what like Maria Orsic and all those channelers that they were using, those Hungarian channelers, was to get technology and information from these intelligences. And in return, you got to give them something. And they seem to have given them their soul. So, yeah, I mean, I think that like once our government figures out that there are other intelligences out there and they have information, and they can trade and stuff, like who knows what crazy shit they're doing.
Okay, so then do you think that they were trying to find a scientific way to do like these magical traditions from like ancient, traditions and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, even like NASA today. So NASA was created. Well, it's funny. Its origins come from two main people. You have Jack Parsons, which is where like JPL comes from. They call it Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but it's obviously Jack Parsons Laboratory. So he's the one who started. Even before NASA, he was our head like rocket scientist, mad scientist person. He did all these occult, crazy black magic things in the desert with his rocket launches and tests and stuff. And so NASA, even today. So current or like modern NASA was kind of born by Werner von Braun, who was a Nazi scientist, and now NASA still does all these crazy occult things. Like most of their rockets have either some sort of serpent on them or dragon on them. They do all these like their patches are wild. Like just Google NASA launch patches. I mean, so many of them are obviously occult. It's even been proven that like the times and days and locations that they launch from and stuff have occult meaning. So they're very deep into that. So to think that our government doesn't practice black magic and ritualistic behavior is just kind of ignorant because it's obvious. I mean, it's proven. Like it's just they don't come out and say it, but it's all there. So yeah, I mean they know that there is this sort of this spiritual realm that we have direct contact with and communication with, and they use it. They use it to their advantage for sure.
Wow.
And again, if anyone's just popping in, I know if you're on a phone or something, you're only seeing half of me. We can't fix it at this point. Try to watch on a laptop or a computer or something, and it should work fine.
We hope. Okay. So, if consciousness can exist outside the body, could the CIA theoretically spy on anyone, anywhere, anytime?
Consciousness can exist outside the body. Could CIA theoretically spy on anyone, anywhere, anytime? Well, I mean, yeah. So it doesn't even really matter if consciousness is outside the body. So I think what they're asking is, like, is it like, so we worry about like surveillance, like, government spying on us through like our phones and stuff, right? But what Robert Monroe showed us is that you can like literally leave your body and you could just, you can do whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? Like it's basically, once you master it, like at first it's very hard to master, but he had mastered it and he could literally do all those. I mean, if he wanted to use it for bad purposes, he could do all those things that, that we worry about, spy on people, peep on people, do all that stuff. And be completely, there's no way you can really know anybody's there. You might get a faint like percept of it. You might be like, I feel like someone's in the room or something like that, right? But there would be no way to prove it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if our government really, really wanted to, they could use psychic spies in that way, where they could literally just, go in an out of body state and walk right into your house. There's not really anything you can do about it. So let's just hope they don't do that. But I mean, yeah, that's definitely within the realm of possibility.
Oh, Did any gateway trainees ever get stuck out of body or experience any harmful side effects from gateway experience?
Um, hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know if I could, I don't have all the data, but from what I've heard, when we were there, we did a day on lucid dreaming, and the really interesting thing about the lucid dreaming was they didn't. So one of our days was supposed to be learning how to lucid dream, and they decided not to do it because they're kind of on the fence. I don't know how they are now, but at the time it seemed like they were a little on the fence about even teaching lucid dreaming because, so say you go in an out of body state or an astral state or whatever. I'll try to lean over. Okay, so when you dream at night, okay, you're dreaming and you're somewhere, you're in some other place, and you're having this wild, crazy experience, right? And then like your cat, scratches you or something in the real world, and you wake right up, boom. So it doesn't matter how far away you are, it doesn't matter what dimension you're in, it doesn't matter what wild activity you're doing in your dream, you'll wake up and come right back to your body immediately, right? There's no chance of getting lost. There's never been a time when you woke up, your consciousness was stuck in some other dimension, okay? It just does not happen in every body. 8 billion people every night go to sleep and dream, and Robert Monroe is convinced that every night when you dream, especially if you get to stage 4 REM sleep, you have an out-of-body experience. So, and we go into it in video 2 of this week. I go deep into what dreams actually are, and it's crazy fascinating. But so just you can kind of rest assured, like if anyone's afraid of like they don't want astral travel or out-of-body travel because they might not be able to get back to their body, I would say I wouldn't worry too much about that because there's not really anything I can think of that suggests that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It's just not likely to happen. Okay. But when you lucid dream, when you practice and perfect this art of like going to sleep and staying conscious as you slip into your sleep, which is what they teach you. I did a video a few weeks back about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and traversing the Bardo states in Tibetan Buddhism. And in Tibetan Buddhism, they have something called dream yoga and sleep yoga. And actually, they teach you how to stay awake as you go into sleep and be able to consciously navigate your dreams in your sleep. And the point of that is so that when you die, you can consciously navigate the afterlife because you've perfected it in life. So it's not that lucid dreaming is dangerous, but I was told at the Monroe Institute that they did some like, this was hardcore lucid dreaming. They did some experiments that ended up just like that freaking Inception movie where they put people, people were asleep and they were going through the lucid dreaming exercises, and they would get into like multiple layers down of dreams of sleep, and you would wake up from one and you would think you're awake, and then you come to find out you're just in another dream. And that it got really scary because they put these people under real deep on purpose because they were trying to see how many layers down they could go. And you can get stuck in multiple layers of lucid dreaming. That is a thing. You have something called false awakenings where you, like, say, for example, you are doing it and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, that was crazy. And you go into the bathroom and you're like, oh, splashing water on your face, to wake up, and the water goes right through you, or your hand goes to the faucet or something. You're like, oh shit, I'm still dreaming. That's a real thing. And they had like these code words and stuff because they were monitoring the people. So they had these things that they would tell the people if this happened to say, and they had these ways to like jolt them awake, like their physical body, so that they would snap out of it. So that's something. That's why I don't really talk too much about lucid dreaming or like guide people through that or recommend it, because I'm not super knowledgeable on it. And it's still not likely, but you can get stuck there. But as far as like astral projection, out of body, just regular like meditation stuff, it's
block that one right
there. The Trump thing. Yeah, there's some very sensitive, triggered people out there. Okay, you're in timeout, buddy. All right, keep it cordial out there. So, anyways, yeah, it's very, very safe. All these things are very safe because you're doing stuff that you do naturally every night, anyways. So think about how many times in your life, you have gone to sleep and dreamed. You know what I mean? Thousands and thousands of times you've gone to sleep, gone to a deep state of relaxation, and had an out-of-body astral traveling experience in your dreams, and come right back to your body the next morning. So this is a very natural thing, that your consciousness is used to doing. So,
okay. I had the question, like, what do you think happens when you click out And then Eddie in the comments said that he remembered you mentioning that they improved the recordings to minimize the clicking out.
Yeah.
And was asking, what do you think they changed? But like, what do you think happens whenever you click out?
So the clicking out, if you don't know, is when so say you're doing the meditation, say you're doing the gateway or HemiSync, and you're like, in a real deep, meditative state, and you're going through the exercises, you're listening to Bob's voice, you're doing all the things, and all of a sudden you just black out. And then what usually happens is at the end of the tape, Bob's voice comes back and he's like, "Well, now return to our physical waking body." And when you hear that voice, you're just like, "Whoa," and you're back. And you're like, that was crazy. Now, people at first will be like, "Oh, I fell asleep." But anyone who's ever done this knows that that's not sleep. There's a difference between sleep and clicking out. When you click out, it's like you know that you aren't asleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you're asleep. Like if you pass out, wake up and you drool over you, and you're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
But like clicking out's different. Like it's like you'll still be sitting perfectly up, and you'll like come to, and you're just like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
So what happens is, and I go into this in depth in I think the first part of the video on Tuesdays about how the click out works, and you're literally clicking out of this reality. So when you click out of this reality, you don't always remember it because you're losing this type of consciousness. Your consciousness is leaving this reality and going to a different reality.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're going to sleep. It's just that you don't remember what just happened, but you can recall it. So the best way to recall it is just simply go into another meditation, without the HemiSync, just a regular meditation, and recall it. Just, okay, what happened when that click out? Or when you go to sleep at night, say, okay, when I wake up in the morning, I want to remember what happened. But so the click out is literally your consciousness is clicking out of this reality and going somewhere else. And sometimes you remember it, many times you don't. So the question specifically was, what did they do when they changed the audio? Because the new ones, they're working on it to where you don't click out as easy. The old school HemiSync, you clicked out all the time.
Yeah,
the old school
really
was hardcore. A lot of people don't like the old school because it's too.
It was a bit intense for me.
Yeah, like the real HemiSync, the old school stuff is very raw. Like they didn't really care about. Like now, like Monroe Sue does a really good job making it like pretty and easy on the ears and stuff, right? Bob wasn't into all that. He was just like, I want to blast off. What's gonna blast me off? And it was hardcore. And you would click out and you would have some wild experiences. I mean, I've had some of the crazy experiences in my life, like far surpassing any psychedelics I've done, far surpassing anything I've ever done, through just HemiSync. And but a lot of times those click outs are where the most hardcore stuff happens and you don't remember it. So what I think that they're trying to do with the newer stuff, and Tom Campbell has some tapes too that that he says reduces the click out. I haven't tried them, but he talks a lot about that. So what I think they're doing is the Monroe stuff, the whole point of it was to bring you up to the edge of sleep and then keep you awake. That was the whole point. And that's the beauty of it, because when you're in that hypnagogic state and you can be in this, you're tricking your brain. Okay. So the whole point of HemiSync is you're tricking your brain into thinking it's asleep when it's not. That's how you access these altered states. These altered states are essentially sleep states. They're states that you don't normally have access to when you're in your waking conscious life.
Yeah.
So you trick your body into thinking it's asleep when you're not, and you can access these states. And so you're walking a fine line between consciousness and unconsciousness, right? Between awake and asleep. And so you have to toggle that line and stay there. And it's hard to do that for 45 minutes, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, either pass out, falling asleep is normal, or click out, and clicking out's totally different. So what you want to do is you want to click out, but stay aware, right? So it's just all about the evolution of learning the sound technology and everything. They've had, when Bob Monroe was doing this stuff, they were the pioneers. They didn't have decades of experience and all these gadgets and gizmos now that we have, where you can look at people's brain waves and stuff like that. When, all the stuff we have now, like they were just guinea pigging it, So that's why their stuff was so raw, and that's why it worked so good, but it's also why it wasn't perfect,
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think they're getting better at it now.
Yeah. They've had how many years to
50 years
Yeah.
to improve on his technology. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, like now some of it, they've got like pink and white and brown,
Mhm.
like noise that they incorporate in there and
Yep.
like all kinds of different stuff. So, like,
They can layer it. They can put
yeah.
certain tones that get you to certain states. So they can put you in like a theta state while also putting tones in there that stimulate certain parts of your brain that keep you awake and aware. So there's different things they could do now they couldn't do back then.
Absolutely. So, what are your thoughts on this being like the real life Jedi training manual?
Well, I mean, that's when I was at the Monroe Institute, that's what it felt like. It felt like we were learning secrets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like secrets, like hacks and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, you could easily, if the Monroe Institute wanted to, they could easily turn themselves into like a Jedi school. But they stay pretty, you got to give it to them. They stay very aligned with Robert Monroe's mission and purpose. You know what I mean? Like the stuff they teach there and the way they do it and the processes are very old school. Everything they do there is very old school. It's very, very much like the place was run in 1975, right? It has not changed that much. And they could, if they wanted to, just go all out and say, we're going to turn this into freaking Hogwarts Jedi school. But, they keep it pretty professional. But definitely the stuff you learn there, you can take it from there and take it on your own and level it up. And yeah, I mean, you can definitely get some. I mean, like the whole Force in the Jedi, using the Force. That's what, like a lot of this, like telekinesis, and PK and telepathy and a lot of those things that were like parts of like what Jedis did. I mean, obviously they're like next level, but this is like the basis for all of that.
Ah. So, if the military could train people to remote view the past and the future, what do you think they were actually looking for
And
in their remote viewing, like in these, like sending these people to learn to do this? What do you think that they were?
yeah, I don't
Mm.
know. I mean,
What
when
would
they
they be looking
first
for?
started doing it, they were just seeing if they could,
Mhm.
that was it. They're like, can we go into the future? Can we? So at the end of this, if you made it to the end of episode 2, which congratulations, that you're still here. You didn't click out of reality, but at the end of this one, cool. Thanks, David. I will answer that in just one sec. At the end of episode 2, they talk about how they have this way to confirm stuff where they'll literally have one person remote view something from a past point of view, one person remote view it from a current, and one person remote view it from the future, and they'll combine the 3 analysis and get like, so they were able to like use this time traveling aspect of the fact that consciousness is non-local and this is all just an information-based reality, and that's just data. And you can look at that data from different perspectives, and you can say, okay, let's look at it from the future, the past, and the present, and then put it together. So they were playing around with time that way. Now there's something called Project Looking Glass, which is a rumored thing. I don't know if it exists for sure, but it's super duper interesting, where they talk about how they remote view the future, and the government has this special computer thing that remote views the future. And then at a certain point, all the timelines converged and whatever, and it was really crazy. I'll have to do a whole video on that. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously interested in the future, but I don't know specifically how they use this for their stuff. Let's see what David had to say. David, thank you. Blessings from Texas. That's where we're from. Well, I'm from Texas, and Sarah moved there. She was very young, but she's pretty much from Texas.
Claim it.
What do you make of the Job 33, 15, 17 verse where it mentions in a dream, in a vision of the night, let me expand this, when deep sleep falleth upon? In a vision of the night, when deep sleep. I don't know. Sounds cool. Yeah. I like that verse, but I don't know. I'm not well versed on that verse. What is the context of it? Like, what were they doing in that part? In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon. I don't know, David. But I do like it. And thank you for the super chat. what part of Texas you from, and if you want to tell me kind of like what the context is, I'd be very interested to give you my thoughts on that. But yeah, dreams are funny because like everyone has dreams, and a lot of times we try to interpret our dreams and like give it bigger meaning. And sometimes you do have premonitions in your dreams and precognitive dreams and visions, and sometimes you just have wacky dreams. So dreams are funny.
There in slumberings.
Slumberings upon the bed, 16. Then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instructions, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. I don't know. So, I mean, there is like I guess you could call it a concern, or at least something to think about. Like, okay, in your dreams, are you vulnerable? Like, because your consciousness is out of body. So is your body vulnerable because your consciousness isn't in it to protect it? Is your consciousness vulnerable because it's out there voyaging and exploring in the astral? So maybe they might be alluding to that, where it says that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. I don't know. A lot of the Bible is very symbolic and a little hard to interpret sometimes. But yeah, I'll ponder that some more. So,
have you read any of Ingo Swan's books?
Yeah, Eddie.
Oh yeah,
I love Ingo Swan. So Penetration is one of my favorite books ever. It's freaking wild. And that was when he was in his fuck it mode, when he was just like, because like he revealed a lot of stuff in Penetration that he was definitely not supposed to. And if you want to read a book that really, really, really will mess with your worldview, Penetration is the one. And Ingo Swan is, well, by all accounts, by everyone who knew him, I did not know him. That was before my time, but everyone that knew him really respected him. He was very well respected, very well liked, very, very good remote viewer. So it doesn't mean everything he remote viewed is true, because remote viewing that's just his one personal account. But the government held him in very high esteem. All of his colleagues did. And the stuff he put in Penetration about remote viewing the moon, he was tasked by the government to remote view the moon. They didn't tell him it was the moon. And he saw, basically giant Nordic humanoid people, like the Nordics that everyone reports seeing here on Earth, running kind of like what he would consider like a slave colony inside the moon, and using the moon as like this watchtower for Earth. And all sorts of other stuff too. The Greys were there. There was like different colonies on the moon and actually inside the moon, all sorts of stuff. It was wild. But then on top of that, he had all sorts of experiences here on Earth that were that were nuts. I mean, he basically had encounters with aliens here on Earth, but they were like, now people will say like they walk amongst us. Like he recounts one time he's in a grocery store and he's like shopping in the fruit section or whatever. And there's this like tall, exotic woman, right? And he was like, she was like gorgeous and all that, but she was just exotic. Like a person you see and they just stand out and you're just like, what the? And she was like communicating with him telepathically the whole time. And he knew that she was there, like watching him. Like, he was watched by a lot of different, like even when he remote viewed the moon, he was told to leave by consciousnesses that were protecting the moon, so they basically were like, whoa, how did you even get past our defenses, and then they basically told him to go away. So bless you. Very professional of you not to sneeze into the microphone. I would have. So yeah, Ingo was a very awesome guy. Penetration is an amazing book, and it will definitely make you rethink a lot of things.
Oh, are you going to do a book report on those books?
That'd be a fun one. Yeah, I will. Good thinking, guys. Book report. People are liking the book report, so let me know if you guys are liking it, if y'all have any recommendations. I have another one. Yeah, if you have any request. I have another one coming up on Tuesday that I'm really excited about. And I think you will be too. So you just have to wait a couple more days. All right, what else we got, Sarah?
Okay. Okay, so are there any parts of this, after now like fully reading it, absorbing it, going deep into it, what 4 or 5 hours worth, right?
Hmm.
Are there any parts of it that you don't believe? Are there any parts of it that you call BS on?
Good question. There was no parts that he was in any way intentionally trying to deceive or BS, because this was just he never thought this would see the light of day. This was 100% this guy's report to his superiors in,
Uh-huh.
in military intelligence. I mean, you're talking about people that so military intelligence of the army back then. This was at Fort Meade, and Fort Meade in Maryland was like the headquarters for all of the psychic activity, the psychic soldiers and everything.
So this
It
was
was
before they had, like, the blackout.
no, no. I mean, the CIA was already formed by then, and they were doing underground shit already. But the army was like the military wing of the CIA. So the army had their MI, their military intelligence, and they were doing a lot of covert like black stuff. Um, so anyway, the whole point is when he gave this assessment to his superiors, he never in a million years thought me and you are going to be sitting here talking about it to the world, right? This
Mhm,
was
mhm.
confidential information that was only like a, you know, um, I don't know. It wasn't like top secret or anything, but it was classified. This was all classified for decades. Okay. So this was not in any way meant to like deceive or to like he was not trying to like make it juicy or sensational or anything. This was a straight up military analysis of all these things. That's what makes it so extraordinary.
Mhm, mhm.
So nothing in here is purposely meant to mislead. So no, I don't call bullshit on any of it. Now it doesn't mean everything in here is absolutely true because he pulls in data from different scientists and psychologists and psychiatrists and different people to get their opinion on stuff. Um, you know, but the people he pulls in are like the top of the top in every field.
Mhm, mhm.
So, it has aged remarkably well. This was 42 years ago when this was written. And I mean, I read it twice this week. And, I like to think that
It's
I'm
crazy.
pretty up to date on cutting edge stuff, and everything in here. Yeah, I mean, there was nothing where I'm like, oh, that didn't age well or anything like that. Like it's all very relevant still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
So do you think that they're still experimenting with those things, or do you think they've shifted all that off to, like, non-official, like, government stuff?
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, they're doing all this stuff. Yeah. I mean,
Or do you think they're still using these specific, like,
um,
techniques and stuff, like
oh, we know that they still go to the Monroe Institute. We know that they still consider the Monroe Institute, um, one of the top like consciousness research places, labs, whatever you want to call it, in the world. We know that they still partner with them sometimes to do some stuff, but they don't really need them anymore. I mean, they have all their own programs. They've basically just replicated all this stuff in their own programs. Um, so yeah, no, I don't know. We find out just like this. This was released to the public about 20 years after it was written. So we won't know what they're doing now for 20 or 30 years. Who knows what they're actually doing right now. All the stuff that we know they're doing, like the psionic stuff and all that, that's all stuff that they've been doing for 10 or 20 years. And now
Mhm.
we're just now catching wind of it. It's not new or anything. Benjamin, good to see you, brother. Who enforces free will? Let's put it on the screen. Who enforces free will in the universe and who stops dark alien beings from doing soul exchanges against someone's will during out of body states? You know, I don't know for sure if there is this like ethical police force in the universe. Like we like to think that there probably should be or would be. What it seems like is that life exists in these kind of realms and places that keeps it pretty isolated until it reaches a certain developmental point, right? So if you think about it, like we're just now getting to the point where the average everyday person can like do out of body stuff and astral travel stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like now back in the day, they like the druids and different people in like the mystery schools and stuff were doing the same stuff, but it was kind of relegated to a select few. It wasn't widespread. It was more like elites and royalty and that kind of stuff. But now, like anybody can do it, right? So, but now we're pretty technologically advanced. We're pretty far along consciously and that kind of stuff. So I think it's almost like the universe regulates itself that way. It's like everything is so spread out and so vast that to really be able to, in the physical world or in the spirit world, like even when you go out of body or your astrally projecting, it's not like there's just entities everywhere. You know, it's not like you're in a crowd of people. It's pretty sparse. Now, it makes you think that, okay, like the filter, you know, that makes sure that people are ethical and behave properly. It's just the fact that it's kind of hard to do things in the spirit world, in the non-physical world. Like, it's the distances are so vast. Everyone has free will and that kind of stuff. So as far as like actually who's stopping this stuff, like I know people think there's like a galactic federation and these kinds of things, and there probably are. There probably are like groups of beings and intelligences and stuff that work together. I don't doubt that one bit. And there probably are like nefarious entities that try to sneak around them and do bad stuff or whatever, just like we have here on Earth. But ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody's sort of in charge of their own soul, you know, and their own consciousness. You know, we have police force here, you know, we have police. It doesn't mean somebody can't just break into my house. Of course they can, you know.
Mhm.
So I protect myself, you know, we're armed. So we're good. But like, so when you're out of body traveling, astral traveling, that kind of stuff, even if there is this galactic police force, it doesn't mean that they're going to be there in an instant, or doesn't mean they can stop everything, whatever. So that's why, like, you know, protecting yourself at a conscious level, spiritual level, like, you know, trying to have, you know, like pure thoughts and trying to not attract negative entities. We've talked about in the Loosh episode that there's a lot of parasitic type energy vampires type stuff out there. So don't put out that kind of signal that's going to attract them. You know, when you are out of body traveling, astral traveling, like, protect yourself. We talked about it in the first video that I did this week about the energy reball, about the mantras that you do. Like, there's a lot of things, especially when I went to the Monroe Institute, they take protection very seriously. Like, we protect ourselves every time we go out of body, every time we astral project, every time we do any exercise, we first protect ourselves. So so yeah, Benjamin, I don't know is the answer. I don't know if there is any intelligence out there that kind of serves as like the cosmic police force. I think there probably are pockets of them, but at the end of the day, you know, it's up to each individual to protect themselves and to, you know, kind of take this stuff seriously.
Yep. If you scroll back up, Eddie
And thank
had
you for the question. Very good question.
wait,
What?
Eddie had a good question there. Yeah.
Eddie, did you or any of the participants that visited the Monroe Institute have encounters with any entities the way Robert Monroe wrote about? Oh. Sarah says this is a good one. Yeah. I mean, so I did a whole video on this when I first started the Conscious Observers. I think it was like my third video I did on my Monroe Institute thing. And I talked about our Bigfoot experience. I talked about, I think I basically recapped most of our paranormal experiences, but we had a lot of paranormal experiences there. And, you know, how do I pull that off the screen? Oh, it was pretty shocking, actually. You know, I went into it with high hopes that we would have something like cool happen, you know, but I didn't really expect like it was basically, it's hard to put into words. It felt like I was there for 6 days. It felt like the entire time we were having what I would call paranormal activity, because it was very rare that there wasn't something happening. You know, it wasn't in a bad way at all, because like the whole time it was this like amazing experience and everyone had a blast, and it was a lot of fun, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But it had this very paranormal feel to it. It just did the whole thing. Like, even when I came home, it felt like I had just woken up from a dream. And
Yeah.
and the whole thing was very, very trippy. And yeah,
Yes,
there was a what we would call a Bigfoot sighting,
Mhm.
or a watching. Come to find out, it seems like the Bigfoot actually is stationed there, I guess you would say, more or
Mhm.
less,
Yeah.
as a protector, because it's a portal. Like, the Monroe Institute's one gigantic portal.
Yep.
And so I've told people this before, but of course, Benjamin, thank you. I'll say it again. I'll keep it short. But like, what I found out about the Monroe Institute and what explained all the paranormal stuff is that, so we're here on Earth, okay, and we're very dense. It's almost like we're at the bottom of the ocean. And say you're at the bottom of the ocean, and there's like ships at the top, right? And they're on the top of the water, and they want to communicate with you. They want to talk to you. Well, is it easier for them to go down to the bottom of the ocean, or is it easier for them to wait until you come up to the top? So if you imagine we're the ones at the bottom of the ocean, and let's say some interdimensionals, right? These intelligences that are non-human, they are at the top. Now, they could probably, if they really wanted to, submerge themselves into this density, but I don't think they want to because most of them talk about this place is crazy. They're like, they look at Earth as fucking nuts. Like, why are y'all doing this to yourself? It's so restrictive and it's so dense and it's so chaotic. So, but they're really interested in us. So what they found out is there's places in the world like the Monroe Institute where we go to them, right? So we go into our little check units, these sensory deprivation booths, and we put on our headphones and we go into each one with like a mission, right? Kind of a specific thing that you're doing. And what happens is you leave this density, you go up to their level, somewhat, or at least they can meet you in the middle. And so they look at places like the Monroe Institute, and there's other ones around the world, other places like that they look at as a way where they can observe and contact and everything humans. And it's pretty interesting when you think about it. It's like a zoo, right? It's like a porthole into our world for them. And I had several experiences there when I went into like that kind of astral mode, when you're in the booth and you're not in your body anymore. It's not like an out of body state. It's your consciousness or your awareness or whatever is out of this whole world, this whole reality. You move your awareness. You don't really move your consciousness. Like out of body and astral travel are two different things. But your awareness is completely out of this dimension. You're able to phase shift and tune your tuner to a totally different station. And you can go to other dimensions. And I went to all sorts of other dimensions. And I encountered all sorts of, they're not aliens. There's intelligences. Like how people say when they go to like DMT land, and they'll see like the machine elves and stuff in DMT land and they're intelligent. Those aren't aliens, right? No one really describes those as aliens. They're just intelligences in another dimension. And we saw lots of them. Okay. But they're not really aliens, so that's where it gets kind of confusing. What's an interdimensional and what's just an intelligence out in the cosmos and what's an alien and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you meet all sorts of things and intelligences and stuff. I had some pretty wild experiences and I recap it pretty good in that video. The Bigfoot thing was when we were on top of the mountain at night and we were orb watching with Ryan Bledsoe, and a couple of the guys got sort of like mesmerized. They got kind of pulled to, we were up at the crystal and we're just looking in the sky, like looking straight up, calling in orbs. And a couple of the guys like got drawn down to basically where this like pasture hits the forest, and it's like pitch black, and they got pulled over there, and there was this tall 7 foot or so like shadowy like outline of a being with glowing red eyes, and didn't hurt anybody, didn't do anything, but they were kind of stuck, like they were kind of mesmerized, just sort of tranced.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And we're just staring at the sky, just watching orbs fly around. So yeah, but I mean, and then that shit wasn't even like crazy. Like no one was even, they weren't running or anything. It was just, and they even came back up and they told us, we were like, what were y'all doing down there? It was pitch black. And they told us, and we're just like, whoa, crazy. And we're still staring at the sky. Like no one went running and screaming or anything. It was just like, yeah. I mean, there was one time when in the morning, when we went for our morning meeting, every single person was like white faced, hadn't slept, looked like they just seen a ghost. And basically every single person said they had some sort of presence in their room. And I had a presence in my room and it was freaking me out. And it wasn't like nefarious, but when you're trying to sleep after a long, exhausting day of doing all this, and there's something in your room.
Super Hemi-sync.
Yeah. I mean, it was exhausting. And then the next day, it's just like, no sleep for the weary. It's just like, back at it. So yeah, by the time we were done, we were all just like fried. You're in this like perpetual state, this like theta state. You can't tell really what's real and what's not real. It's pretty crazy. Do we do the show often? Yeah, every Saturday night at 8:00 we do the live. Somebody asked if I fear death. Yeah, do you fear death? Like I was like this close to fucking dying in 2019.
Good
So
times.
yeah, good times. But so I can laugh about it now, but I look at like all of life as like extra innings, right? Like for me, not for you, but for me, I'm like, this is bonus time. So like I'm very grateful for every second and every day, and I take everything. I try not to take anything for granted. And but what I've learned since then in researching all this is that the reason we fear death is because we don't understand it and we don't know what happens after it. And when I had my experience, I set out to try to figure out, okay, well, what is life? What is reality? What's consciousness? What happens when we die? And the more I learned, the less fearful I am. Let's put it that way. I am not afraid to die, but I'm loving life. So I want to ride this party out as long as possible. But no, nothing that I've in all my research and everything. Death is not something that should be feared, and more than likely, it's happened to you dozens, if not hundreds, of times as a human. So don't fear it, but still enjoy your life and try to make it last as long as possible because life is cool.
Yeah.
What else you got, babe?
You've got a new question. Just go all the way down to the bottom. There you go.
Which one?
Up one more. About Focus 10. There you go.
Read the question.
So is Focus 10 similar to the state right before sleep? You said this was the focus where you talk to your higher self, right? You didn't talk to your higher self in Focus 10, did you?
I don't remember which focus exactly. So 10 is going to be like the state right before sleep, because it's going to kind of be
It's where you slip into theta.
yeah, it's very theta. It's a great one. 10 and 12 is where you spend most of your time. And Robert Monroe even says, you don't need to go past 12. It gets crazy past 12. It really does. And they have, I forget how high it goes. It goes to like 60 something, but we did 10, 12, 15.
Go all the way up to 21.
21 was the last, but I think there was one in between there.
Well, yeah, you do the rainbow.
Yeah. And we did like the patterning and the dolphin energy club and that kind of stuff. And I forget what focuses those were, but anyways, whole point is 10 and 12 is really all you need. Once you get into the more advanced stuff, that's when things can get sketchy, because you're more likely to slip into other dimensions and stuff where you might not even be welcome. Like there's other intelligences and stuff out there that are just like, they're not that they're mean. It's just like you're going into their world. It's like you're just all of a sudden you're all up in their face and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? So they're not always nice. So you don't want to just travel everywhere. 10 and 12 is a great place because it keeps you pretty much terrestrial here. You don't go too far out there. It's a great place to do manifestations, healing, talk to your higher self, all that kind of stuff. You can do most everything you want to do in 10 and 12. There's not really a reason. So 15 is the state of no time. So that's a good one to, it's kind of like the void, so it's a good one if you just want to chill. It's a state of no time. So when you're there, it's like a black void. And I want to say that's where we did the higher self, but I'm not positive. I'll have to go back and look at my notes. But yeah, the higher self one was crazy. Like, because my higher self experience was really crazy. I was hoping for like a nice cuddly teddy bear kind of a higher self, but mine was a little rough around the edges, and yeah, it was not what I was expecting, but it was fun. It was cool. It's a cool experience. But yeah, the higher self doesn't have emotion like we're hoping. And I know some people will push back and they'll say mine did. Well, your higher self can be whatever it thinks you need. Sarah's even seen this because she does higher self. She does past life regression, and she takes people to their higher self when they're in a hypnotic state or a trance-like state. And it seems like the higher self can put on a mask if it needs to. Like, it can sugarcoat stuff, or it can be nice to you if it feels like that's what you need, right? When you say that, like, it can kind of adapt to,
Say it again.
the higher self. Like, it can sort of adapt how it communicates based on the person.
Oh yeah,
Wouldn't
yeah,
you
for
say?
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So mine was very blunt and rough and direct. And I was kind of hoping for a gentler one, but at the same time, it delivered the message that I needed, and it delivered it in a way that made sense. And you know, it was a pretty crazy experience. But it was like in this black space, and it was this giant wireframe head that was like a blue, like laser outline, basically of a face, kind of like Max Headroom. And it spoke in this thunderous voice, and it shook the whole space. And it was very, very, I wouldn't say frustrated that I was there. It was frustrated with my questions. It thought that I wasn't being I don't know. I think it was trying to like put a little bit of urgency into me. It told me that we didn't have enough time for baby steps, and that basically I needed to think bigger. So it was a wild experience, and I've done videos on that, so I won't bore you here with it. But what are we talking about? What are we talking about, guys? Yeah, Eddie mentions Carlos Castaneda. I have not read his stuff, but I'm very fascinated with him. Like I know all about him. I just have not read his book, so I need to do that soon. And yeah, I mean, so much of the stuff is I mean, it's just basically they even go into that in this assessment about how so much of this is the same stuff that like mystics have been talking about for thousands of years, just you know, kind of seen through like a more modern lens. So none of this information is really new, and none of these tactics, like the stuff you learn at the Monroe Institute, it's not new. It's just with the sound technology, it kind of gives us a it's like a way to supercharge it for one, and also to speed up the process, and to make it to where you don't have to take like psychedelics and plant medicine and stuff. Now, those are fine
Exactly.
options if people want to do that, but not everyone wants to do that. So this is a way where it's like there's not really any side effects. It's non-invasive. You can stop anytime, and you could still. But yeah, I mean, people for thousands of years, mystics and stuff have been able to do all the same stuff. Yeah, Sarah's in here policing stuff. She's on it.
Right here. You wanna?
What do you got? What do you got? Divine Council. That one?
Yeah, we need a community spot.
Mrs. Crowder, we need a community spot. We all like each other in the comments and want to keep up. Where do us Crowder that I'm glad you actually brought that up. That's something that we're working on because we have gotten so many, and I 100% agree.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
I told Sarah this the other day that like I'm just the face, and I'm the one that put myself out there, and it attracts people and stuff. But like what I find, because I do a lot of like human design coaching and stuff too. So like I do one-on-one coaching, and what I'm really finding, and I love this, is that people aren't coming for me. They're coming for like connection. Like they're
only you.
Well, yeah, they're looking for, they just want someone to be able to talk to about this stuff, because so often in people's lives they don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. So say like your partner, or your friends, or your family, or whatever aren't in the same stuff, and sometimes you're like, I don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. So what I want to be able to do is like connect all of you guys like to each other, and all these awesome like partnerships and things will blossom out of that, and I think it'll be awesome. So like I have a community now. Like when you join my course, my 5D Printer Reality, it gets you into my WhatsApp group. But and that's a fun group. But I want to take that to the next level.
And
so
we have a Patreon.
Yeah, but that's not the same. Like
we're working on it.
Yeah. So we're
Online
looking
community.
at different ways. So tell me your thoughts. I know people like WhatsApp, so let me know if y'all like WhatsApp, and I can just expand that group. Or there's things called like Circle. Circle's a community group. There's School. There's a few of them. I just haven't found one that I really, really like. So that's what I'm working on. We're trying to find one that we like.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, somebody asked if Jordan was a DJ at the Psychic Olympics. He was a commentator. Yes, and
DJ sounds
he
cooler though. But
will be the head of the commentators for 2026. No, yeah. What year is it?
yeah,
2025. Yeah. So next year. Yes, he's on the board and we'll be there. We will both be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both be there. Yeah. So yeah, the side games next year is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, I'll be the head commentator, and we'll probably be speaking and doing some other stuff there too. So that'll be a lot of fun. Joe says Discord is so that's where I'm at now. I hear Discord all the time, and I'm on Discord with SpectreVision. So Discord is definitely an option. So I guess I just need to put a poll out. It's basically between Discord, WhatsApp. Tell me, does Discord have an app? Like, how do you use it? I only got Discord.
Yes, there's an app.
There is? Okay.
Mhm.
I got it years ago so I could use Midjourney, and I never use it for anything other than that. So I don't know how it works. But I mean, that's what all the big guys use. So,
Yeah. Well,
so I guess there's a reason.
guess we'll jump in.
Okay, so Discord's at
Dive
the top
in.
of the list right now. But I'll listen to you guys. Steer me the right direction. What you think is the best community group? And but yeah, I mean, Discord comes up all the time. So
Put a poll out like on X.
David said it's
and
hip with the young
whatnot.
ones, and obviously we're very hip with the young ones, so it'll be a good
Pop-Tart
fit.
crazy.
Because I don't even know if it has an app, so obviously I don't. Do not follow me for trends and fashion advice. Okay,
And fashion.
those darn kids.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell you what.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Hey, so let's talk just a little bit about those northern lights that we saw this week down here in Florida.
Yeah. Did y'all see the Northern Lights where you guys are from? We're in Florida, and it was our third. Sarah brought this to my attention because she's very perceptive. So over the last 18 months, we've had 3 Northern Lights here, and the first one was 5.5.
I'm not sure if it was 5.5. It might have been 5.10. It was Mother's Day the first time,
Okay.
and then it was 10.10, and
we
then
thought
it was
5.5,
11.11.
10.10, 11.11.
But still 5.10, 10.10, and 11.11.
Well, so the last 2 were 10.10, 11.11.
Yeah,
That's kind of
for
cool.
sure, 100%.
Anyways, yeah, it was wild. So, and then lately, like the next day I went outside, and I've been talking about it on my X about the sun. I mean, we're in Florida, so it's not like crazy that it's sunny, but like the sun, especially the next day, and like the stars that night. Remember how
Yeah,
we even went out with our
super
daughter,
bright,
and all of us,
crazy.
like, it wasn't just me, all of us were like, why are the stars so bright? Like, they were like, the stars looked, I don't know, they looked fake. I mean, they just looked fake, and the whole sky looked fake. And so I know it has to do with the ionization and everything, but it was wild. And then the next day the sun was like crazy hot. Like, I felt like I was getting sunburned, and it's middle of November, and it was just so hot. And then today we were out there, and I took some pictures on X. I mean, the sun is white, and I know that, like, people talk about how, it used to be orange and now it's white, and I know that's been a thing for a while. I mean, I live on the same earth. I remember the sun used to be orange, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was always orange, and now it's white. But I mean, it was so white today. Like, I put a picture on my Instagram and my X of it today, and like, it's not even like white. It's almost like blue. It's weird. So, it's not that, like, I don't think the sun is like a simulator or anything like that. I think the sun's a portal, and I think the sun is conscious. I don't think the sun is what they say it is. Like, the sun doesn't operate the way that like, if it actually had like this nuclear fusion reactor inside of it, it wouldn't be operating the way it does. Like, I don't know if y'all know this. The sun is cooler the closer you get to the surface. Doesn't make any sense. So the surface of the sun is actually way cooler, like millions of degrees cooler than like the layer. I think it's the corona, the layer right outside of it. Yes, it's plasma, and it's conscious. Absolutely. It's the grow light for Earth, for the Garden of Earth, but also it's a portal. And when you get into like human design, and Ra Uru Hu, the guy who created human design, when you get into his like deep teachings, he talks about the sun being a portal where the neutrinos, which is the carrier wave of consciousness, comes from the non-physical side to the physical side, and that the sun is this like Wi-Fi router, essentially, of the wave of consciousness that we all stream from. And so the sun is amazing, it's powerful, bless you, but it's not this like big ball of fire like they say. So the fact that the color's changing and stuff isn't really crazy. Like, I think that it just means that it's like changing its frequency, it's changing its vibration, it's leveling up too, and it's just changing. So we're all changing. Everything's always evolving and changing, but we know very little about the sun as far as like science goes. We know it's strange. We know that it's powerful. So but yeah, it's definitely seems to be changing. I mean, we've lived in Florida for 11 years. That's not super long, but I know people have lived here their entire lives and they've never seen the Northern Lights one time. And now to have it 3 times in 2 years is crazy. I mean, that's just not normal. And for people to say it's normal, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not. It's not. It doesn't mean it's bad. I'm not saying any of this is bad. I'm just saying it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's just not. If it was normal, it'd happen all the time. That's what normal means.
Well, and there was
it's abnormal.
definitely like a shift in energy, like in like people were like acting differently and stuff,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of change happening right now. So, but yeah, I think that a lot of human consciousness has to do with the sun. Going back to Monroe Institute, they did some of their explorer tapes where they have this elite team of astral explorers. They call it the Explorer Group or the Explorer Team, and they were not really remote viewing the sun, but they have these what they call inspec friends, these like intelligent species, these guides that are non-human intelligences that guide them, and like Miranon's one of them, and they can go in that astral out of body state and they can communicate with them and talk to them. And one time, and this is all on the Monroe Institute channel, if you go to their Explorer series, they recorded all these sessions. It's amazing, and they talked about what the sun is, and the sun is, they called it the glow lamp, the grow lamp for the Garden of Earth, and that it used to flash and then it stopped flashing. And when it stopped flashing, it changed its frequency. And when it did that, that's when we split into right brain and left brain, and it caused the evolution of like human consciousness. And anyways, it you get more people getting in timeout.
That's okay.
You guys need to act right out there. Sarah's on it. Doesn't fuck around. But anyways, they did a whole deep dive into what the sun is, and whole point of this is that the sun is not just this star. Like, stars are more, I don't know, important than just a light source. You know, it's actually the source of our local consciousness. So you can think of it like a consciousness Wi-Fi router, right? That distributes the signal from the central star, which would be like source consciousness, and it propagates it around the universe, and that each local area gets their stream of consciousness from that star. And so anyways, it's a portal, and it's where the neutrinos come from, and the neutrinos are the carrier wave of consciousness. So I've done some videos breaking that down, so I won't bore you now, but our sun's very important, and it seems to be changing right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. So don't fear it. Just go outside more and soak it up, because when it changes, you want to change with it, you know, and the best way to do that is just go outside and be
get
in
on
it.
the same level as it.
Yeah.
Do you have any updates on 3i Atlas or anything that you think it and the supermoon and the Northern Lights, do you think that any of that is connected?
I mean, it was interesting timing,
Yeah,
for sure.
all of it.
I mean,
yeah.
it had already gone through its perihelion like 2 weeks before,
Mhm.
but in the 2 weeks since it hit perihelion, which is its closest point to the sun, we had a crazy supermoon, and then which had a crazy energy, and then we had we had 3 X-class solar flares in a row. 2 of the X-class solar flares, basically.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, I'm just gonna get rid of this.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
dweeb
we
guy.
already
Oh,
did that. So do the next one.
sorry.
There you
Yeah,
go.
he's annoying. All right. One bad
Thank
apple. Yeah, so like, okay, 3 Atlas hit perihelion closest to the sun on October 29th. And the 2 weeks since then, we had 3 X-class solar flares in a row, a supermoon, and then Northern Lights over half of the planet. So I don't think 3 Atlas had anything to do with that, but it's interesting because like I did a whole video breaking down like the astrology aspect of 3 Atlas and talking about how it's going, retrograde, which means it's going against the flow. So all the planets, actually they go counterclockwise. They go, counterclockwise. All the planets in the solar system go in a circle together. They all move together. And it's called the ecliptic. It's like a plane. It's like a record. And it came right against like 5 degrees off of that ecliptic. But so they're all the planets are going like that. And it came against them. So it's going against the flow. And in astrology, they call that retrograde. and we're very sensitive to retrograde. Like even if a planet, like say, when Mercury's in retrograde and everyone's like feeling a little wonky and the technology glitches out a little bit, that's simply an illusion of retrograde. Like
Mhm.
Mercury didn't really go backwards. It looks for a little bit like it's moving backwards in relation to us. And just the fact that it looks like it's moving backwards causes problems, right?
Mhm.
So imagine if something the size of Manhattan is going 150,000 miles an hour, against the flow in pure
Yeah.
retrograde through the entire solar
Mhm.
system.
Yeah.
It's going to cause some disruptions. How could it not? So from a astrology point of view, 3 Atlas is definitely a big disruptor, big disruptor. Now
Mhm.
I did my whole astrology report on it. I did a video on that on my YouTube and a podcast where I broke down. I did a reading on it using its perihelion as its birth date, and like it put it in Scorpio in tropical, and it put it in Libra and sidereal. And when you go through the astrology report, it basically was telling us that it's going to cause lots of disruptions, and it's going to lead to basically an unmasking of deception. And then the Libra was going to be the swift justice, basically. And what it was suggesting, what my report said, is that we could expect, like at a nation state level, severe disruptions in the form of like new information coming out that shows that there's been a cover up, lies, deception, cheating, that kind of stuff. Okay. So I won't go too far into, I don't want to get this on YouTube, so I don't want to say things that'll get banned or whatever on YouTube. But on my X, I did tell my feelings, and it's weird. I did that report like over a month ago about the astrology report through Atlas, and I was saying that there was going to be like an apocalyptic style unveiling of truths that was going to have major repercussions for leaders of the world, and that was going to cause serious problems. And now, all of a sudden, especially if you're on X, you're seeing all this stuff play out in real time. X gets the news days and weeks before the rest of the world. This all stuff with Jeffrey E. and the big guy in the White House is getting weird. It's getting really weird. They're forcing this next week. They're forcing a vote on it to release the files, and the guy in charge with the big red hat is freaking the fuck out right now. And it's interesting because I'm not like for him or against him. I was for him being a wrecking ball to the system, which hasn't quite happened. But the interesting thing is my astrology analysis said that there was going to be like big disruptions at like a heads of state level. And now all of a sudden we're seeing the head of the biggest state having like a serious panic attack. And it's really interesting because what I said is it was going to be 2 months after October 29th, 2 months after the real crazy stuff was going to happen, which would be around the end of the year.
Yeah.
So buckle up. Joe asks, are you familiar with the fourth turning, Jordan? Yeah, very familiar. So we're basically in the middle of it right now. So the fourth turning is, it's going to be like a polycrisis type thing, but it's a big part of it is the financial system collapse. So yeah, very familiar with that, and yeah, kind of taking it seriously because all the signs are there that we're basically in the fourth turning right now, the beginning phases. What else we got? I don't want to talk about that too much because it's depressing. Do we own Bitcoin? Yeah, I have a little Bitcoin. I'm more of an XRP guy, but right now I'm pretty pissed at all of them. They were all supposed to be decentralized currency, and if you watch them, they all mimic the freaking NASDAQ. They're all basically tech stocks at this point. So I don't know. I think that they all started off pure, maybe, possibly, who knows? But now, it seems like now they're just all they're all just owned by the whales. You get these gigantic people in there that buy and sell in the billions, and it just messes up for everybody. And then when it starts to tank and the average person starts to try to sell, and then all the I know people say keep it in a cold wallet and all that stuff. If you use Coinbase, you're an idiot. But most people use Coinbase and things like that. And then those, exchanges go down because they'll freeze them and they'll just say, oh, we're having a
Yeah.
technical issue,
Yeah.
while all the rich people sell. And it's the whole thing's a scam. It's all a scam. Sorry. What else we got?
What else do we have?
Let's end on a happy note. What do you got? What do you got? What's happy? I know people don't come here for the happy. They come here for the crazy. But you can be crazy and happy.
Fascinating how many people want 3i Atlas to be a spaceship. That shows a shift in humanity, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think the November 21st Disclosure movie will reveal?
Nothing. I'm jaded on all those Disclosure movies. I mean, everything they're going to talk about is the shit that, if you pay attention to any of this stuff, everyone's known this forever. Read The Day After Roswell. It was written in 1996 or something. Philip Corso, Colonel Corso. It's more revealing than any book that's been written since. None of this is new information. They keep saying that they're doing this like drip disclosure, but all the shit that they're releasing is the same stuff that everyone already knows. Like Lil Elizondo wrote the dumbest book ever called Imminent, and he's like, oh, I'm going to tell you a bunch of shit that everyone, learned 30 years ago. So it's just they're wasting everyone's time. That's it. To buy themselves time. So I'm sure it's a good movie. It probably has, good cinematography. But as far as learning anything new, if it was super duper revealing, we would have already found out. Because the movie's been made for a while. So anything that was really earth changing would have already come out. You're going to see some senators and congressmen and stuff like that say things like, oh, I was in a skiff one time and I found out some amazing information that I can't tell you. I don't see there being any actual reveals of any significance. But it doesn't mean don't go see it. I'm sure it's entertaining.
What are we thinking about the 22nd, Steve? Why is that a big date for crypto?
I don't know. Somebody said something about 3i Atlas being a spaceship. And then I get shit all the time because people are like, I guess I dash their dreams when I talk about it not being a spaceship. The reason I don't think it's a spaceship is because it behaves like a comet. I mean, if you just study it, which I have 4 months now, since not the very, very beginning, but whenever they first started releasing analysis on it, it behaves like a comet. Every single time they've basically checked up on it, it's been exactly where it should be. It has never really deviated. In fact, it was supposed to naturally deviate just through its natural outgassing far more than it did, which means that it's actually denser and heavier than they thought. So it's very reliable. Its path is very reliable. It's very predictable. It has not slowed down or sped up in any way that, I understand Avi Loeb's done the whole circuit and told everybody in the world that it could be a spaceship. He did this in 2017 with Oumuamua. If you were paying any attention back then, that was 8 years ago. He was 100% wrong on almost every fucking thing he said. The fact anyone puts a microphone in his face now is insane. He's been wrong about everything. He sensationalizes stuff because he wants to lay the groundwork for an alien invasion.
Well, JK Ultra said also that it's just like a press tour for him.
Of course.
Like,
he's trying to raise money for his Galileo project. He wants $1 billion. That's why he went on Joe Rogan and talked about it. No, it's not a spaceship. There's spaceships out there and they don't fly like that. They just don't. It just doesn't make any sense for it to be a spaceship at all. It makes sense for it to be a comet. Now people will be like, but it's not like any comet we've ever seen, Jordan. Well, yeah, it's interstellar. So it's not going to be a part of any comet. It's not going to be like a comet we've seen in the solar system because it's not from our solar system. 99.99% of comets and stuff that we see are from our solar system. They're from the Kuiper Belt or the Oort field. This one's not. It's from a different part of the universe. So of course it's going to have a completely different composition. It's going to act different. It's older, all these things. So it's a weird ass comet. That's it. I think it's a seed because I think all comets are seed. They carry organic life. They carry all sorts of things like prebiotics for life, like cyanide. This one has a ton of cyanide and nickel. It's spewing water out like crazy. Spaceships don't do that. It's a giant, it's a giant dirty snowball that came from basically the center of our Milky Way, we think. I think the most interesting thing is that it went right by Mars and was spewing cyanide and nickel out in insane quantities, which create these, like, I won't go into it. I did a whole video on how I think it could actually be seeding Mars with prebiotics for basically metallic life forms, like sort of like robotic type life, which is very interesting because Musk wants to go there and grow robot armies and stuff. So there's a lot of very peculiar things about 3 Atlas, but nothing suggests that it's a spaceship.
So, you are great at discerning the frauds and what info to focus on. Would you say that's from meditating, connecting to the higher self? Jordan has pretty good bullshit meter.
Okay, let's put it this way. I am very skeptical about everything. So for me, you have to convince me otherwise. So that's the way I look at everything. It's not that I'm like negative. I'm skeptical about everything. And then I have to prove it real as opposed to the other way around,
Mhm.
where you just assume it's real and then you have to prove it false.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, I mean, I have a good connection with my higher self and my intuition. My gut is usually right, and I listen to my gut a lot. I can kind of tell it's weird, but I get a feeling if something's, put it this way, and I hope he's watching this. When I see Avi Loeb's face, it makes my stomach hurt. Like, something about him to me seems, I don't want to get sued for libel or anything. He makes my stomach turn. Okay, there's something about that guy that hits my gut in a bad way, and it has nothing to do with.
Don't trust him.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him one bit. It's absolutely 100% at a gut level. Okay, that's it. That's all. And then the more I've listened to him talk and stuff, I just get a very bad feeling. Very, very bad feeling. I think that he's laying the groundwork for he wants people to think that an alien invasion is a thing. That's a possibility, that it
Mhm.
could happen. And then look at how many people are already talking about it, And now you have people even saying, "Oh, come and take me. I want the alien invasion and stuff." So he's making it very, very, and people will be like, "Good for him. He's making people think bigger and outside the box." That's not exactly what we think about when we say think outside the box. Saying absolutely aliens could exist. It's a gigantic cosmos and there could be all sorts of life forms out there. Yeah, duh, obviously. Saying that every time the comet comes into our solar system from somewhere else, that it's a freaking mothership that's going to invade Earth. That's not thinking outside the box. That's fear mongering. That's laying the groundwork for a fake alien invasion. And if anyone's been paying attention for the last 50 years, Carol Rosin and von Warner, or Warner von Braun, on Warner von Braun's deathbed, he told Carol Rosin, his personal assistant, who was his assistant forever, that their final card that they, the powers that be, were going to play is a fake alien invasion and not to buy it. Why would he say that on his deathbed? The man who, I mean, come on, like, if you know who this guy is, he knows what he's talking about. And he said that was her final card. Why would he say that? And why would she lie? So, and when I see Avi talk, I 100% know that if Werner von Braun was alive, he would sock him. So don't trust him. So anyways, I don't know if that's from meditation or whatever. It's a gut feeling. Listen to your gut. Your gut doesn't care about emotions. Your gut doesn't care about anything. The gut is 100% about survival. Okay. It's why humans have been around for 1 million years. Your gut keeps you alive. That's all your gut does. It's all about survival. It does not give a shit about emotions. Doesn't give a shit about logical, rational thinking. It's 100% survival. And so listen to your gut.
100%. Have you read any books by Rudolf Steiner?
Yeah, I love Rudolf Steiner. I need to do a whole video on him because I have some,
Say, if so, which ones? And if not, how much should I super chat to have you read them? Is that a request for a book report?
Yeah. So I don't have like a favorite one. I'm a fan of his ideas on things, the way he looks at like Ahriman and Jesus and Antichrist and that kind of stuff. I think it's very interesting, especially when you look at AI and how all that's playing out right now. You know, there's definitely a lot of parallels there, and I think if he was alive right now, he would be freaking out about AI because he was talking about this stuff a long time ago. He's an amazing guy. You know, way ahead of his time, very, very smart. And, you know, I like the way that he looked at things. So, yeah, I'll do some sort of a book report or something on him.
We've got a question about what do you think Chris Bledsoe's message of 2026 is?
Well, I did a whole video on that. I did my whole video on my interpretation, you know, not to put words in his mouth or anything, but my interpretation on his whole experience about the lady and, you know, the Easter 2026 Easter timeline. I actually put it at the spring equinox about 2 weeks before Easter because it has to do with the Sphinx, and the Sphinx is made specifically for the spring equinox. And there's a celestial event happening that night with you know, Sirius and Regulus. So it's slightly different than, you know, what he's been saying lately. But when you go back to his earlier stuff, talking about it before he went and saw some astrologers and everything, it's very similar to what he was saying at the beginning. So the new knowledge, I did a whole video on this. I think it has to do with the Atlantean archive that's underneath the paw of the Sphinx. That's my guess, is that something will be revealed about that. You know, I did a deep dive on it. I don't remember all the things I talked about in the video, but go watch my video. I forget what it's called, but I did a video about a month ago about the Easter thing, and I go deep on it. So, but I think that the new knowledge doesn't come from the lady. I think it comes from something having to do with the Atlantean library. It's in between the right paw of the Sphinx and the Nile River. There's a library down there, according to Edgar Cayce and some other stuff. I think that there's going to be something there. So,
all right,
that's my thoughts. But yeah, it'll be an interesting, you know, like that's 5 months from now, 4.5 or something. So
it's going to be here before we know it.
It's going to be here before we know it.
46 days left in the year, which is bananas.
Yeah. But what the lady said is that, like, basically shit was going to get really nasty, and then like it would get better after that, essentially. So part of me hopes that she was wrong and all this is wrong. But when you really dig into it, yeah, I mean, Joe says, my gut says, we've met Chris multiple times. We've hung out with him.
Very, very good person.
We've skywatched with him. We've got to know his entire family. He is a genuine person. Yeah. I don't get any alarm bells from him or anyone in his family.
No, they're all good people.
Having said that, he is being watched and studied and, dare I say, not manipulated, because I don't think he is allowing it, but you know, you'd be ignorant to not think that all of these intelligence agencies that are around him aren't possibly trying to, you know, swing him one way or another, do whatever. Who knows? I mean, when you're around all these different alphabet agencies, who knows? But as much as we've spent time with him, I have not seen him change at all, waver at all. I mean, he's the same Chris as he was first time we met him. He's a very stand-up, honest, trustworthy, you know, good person. He has the best intentions, period, ever. I don't know about all the people around him. That doesn't mean his family's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But all these agencies and stuff. So it's like, there's all that. But I'm hoping that he rubs off on them. You know, I'm hoping that he's just such a good person that even if they went into it with their own, you know, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So I'm sure they're looking at like, ooh, how can we get to know the lady and weaponize all this information? You know, that's just how their brains work. I'm hoping that after spending all these years with Chris, they're all like,
it's the opposite.
It's all love, man. Yeah. So, you know, we'll see. But yeah, no, he's very good people. Yeah. And I'm glad that he's sort of like our ambassador, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like to this other side and everything, you know? Because great person. And you know, he was talking to me when we were at the Psy Games, and you know, he's got some cool stuff that he's working on, some big projects that he's really excited about. So so a lot of things coming. Yeah, I think there was definitely a communication going on between the other side and this side, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think they're trying to help us through this transition, through this this kind of tipping point. We're at this like kind of consciousness tipping point kind of a deal, and I think they're trying to help us. You know, doesn't mean that there's not negative guys out there trying to knock us down, but there's
Yep.
definitely good guys trying to help us. I
Yep.
definitely get that impression, and I think Chris is working with the good guys, so it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
Absolutely.
But anyways, good stuff, guys. Well, thank y'all for being here. Y'all rock as always. Yay! It's Saturday
Another
night, so
Saturday night.
let you guys get back to your lives.
Just a little bit of technical difficulties, but you mostly got to see our
Yeah.
faces, depending on where you tuned in.
Yeah, sorry for
how?
all you vertical folks out there. You got to see half my face and Sarah's ear for a couple hours, but we'll get that figured out. It's always something. So didn't see that coming.
Hey, we're just grateful that the microphones and the camera
Let's
were
get us both
working.
in there for our
Bye,
farewell.
everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Be
Next
looking
Saturday.
on Tuesday. I have a new video coming out. We're going to do another book report. This one's a little different. I'm super excited about it. And I think you guys are going to like it. It's positive and life-changing. It's a little bit of a palate cleanser after last
Yep.
week.
Yep, something a little bit lighter and easier to
Yeah.
digest.
And use. You'll be
Yep.
able to use this to transform your life.
Yep.
So thanks for all your support. You guys are awesome.
Y'all are the best.
We'll see you soon. Bye.